All right, so before you say anything, I know this seems weird, right? It feels weird to me. I mean, I've never done anything like this before. Uh, but after having a few conversations with some students, I felt like I wanted to. No, more like I needed to do something. So, or at least try something new. So, if you do me a favor, just give me 10 minutes. I said 10 minutes or less, right? And maybe it might be something that you want to hear, okay? So, if you know anything about me and I've had the honor of meeting you, I'm not about right now. I'm about growth and change. I don't care where you started. I care where you finish. And my whole purpose is about having you develop and change yourselves for the better in my class, on the judo mat, or just in general. And so, and well, why? This is kind of why I teach this way, why I coach this way. And well, I guess what the real meaning of it for me is that it's everything I wish I heard when I was growing up, you know? That somebody would have spent a little time with me to tell me the things I needed to hear so I could be a better person in my life. So, basically what I'm trying to tell you is that I kind of figured this out the long way, the hard way. And so I wanted to share with you guys. So, first off, I want you to take a second. I want you to step back into yourself and I want you to think of a major goal in your life that you've had, something that you really, really wanted in the past. But maybe, you experienced some setbacks. Maybe, you experienced a lot of disappointments, some failures. Hell, you maybe even given up on whatever that was, right? But maybe you just need a little fire, a little encouragement to get you back up again, to get you going. And that's what I'm here to try to help you with. So if you think back, the way I kind of learned how things go is like, in life there's either winners, but more so there's people who just not discovered how to win yet, right? And all you really need is some coaching. All you need to do is just have a little assistance, maybe a little guidance, just a little support. Maybe just a different insight or a different strategy of your life or change your life to make it a little better. A little adjustment that'll make your future that much better. That would open up everything that's already within you. And so I remember when I looked at myself and I looked into the situation that I wanted to change because I wasn't happy where I was. And I remember when I wanted to change and I was looking at all these things and I started hitting a wall. I just couldn't figure out how come I can't change? What's going on? What's wrong with me? How come I feel like I'm running in mud all the time? And so when I started doing that, I started realizing that, okay, maybe I'm not motivated. Maybe I need to work on it. But then I started think about this for a second. I'm going to bring this up with you. Remember the first day of school in August? You come back to school, you're like, yes, it's going to be a good year. We're going to do this right. I'm going to work hard. Da, da. And then a couple weeks into it, a month into it, when the daily grind, the wear and tear starts turning on you, right? Don't you start kind of losing that motivation? Even with sports, right? You're like, yes, I'm ready to play football, soccer, volleyball, whatever. But that grind starts to take you. And you start running into those daily hiccups, those ups and downs, those bumps and bruises. And you start losing sight of the purpose why you were there in the first place, don't we? Right? And what I've noticed is I gave a lot of value to how I was at that moment instead of understanding that that moment was an investment for tomorrow. That tomorrow would be a better day. That always tomorrow will be a better day. But you have to work and sacrifice today to make tomorrow that much better. And so what I started figuring out is that I just didn't know what tomorrow was, right? Well, think about it. What is that betterment of tomorrow if I don't have that goal? And I didn't know what my goals were till I was like 30, right? So what does that want in life? I don't know. So the first step in making the rest of your life the best of your life is simply, what is your want factor? What do you really want in your life? Right? And once you find that out, you're going to realize that the whole world changes, regardless of however you are. Your mind and body start working towards that goal that you have, and you start figuring out things, finding ways to win. And this is when life gets exciting. I mean, think of every movie you ever watched about heroes and inspiration and all that other jazz, right? It's all that stuff. But when you hit rock bottom and you're at your goal and you don't know how you're going to get there, you need to remember one of those heroes, those inspirations, those things that brought you back up. Because if they can get through it, you can get through it too, right? Those are the stories that we need to call on, that needs to get you just to take one step. I didn't say finish, Just take that one step off of the bottom that you hit to keep you going, because that one step is the hardest step, isn't it? Trying to get back up again. So, what's your want factor? But when I'm going to change want factor, because the word is truly, what's your dream, isn't it? Like, let me share an example of somebody famous, and then in the next video, I'll share one of mine, okay? There's a story about this young boy. And the young boy when he was younger, he couldn't speak. All his friends were talking, but he couldn't. So as he got older, at the age of 7, he couldn't read. All his other friends could read, and then he was slowing down the class. So his teachers called in his parents and said, you know what? He's got to be homeschooled. We can't keep him home. He's slowing down the whole class, the betterment of the class. He couldn't read. And so his parents didn't know what to do with this boy. So as he got a little older, they put him to work, right? And then he started getting fired from every job he had. And so all through his life, he was failure up to the age of 21. He was failing at everything he did, but he always tried. He kept reading books. He kept learning. He was homeschooled. He did whatever he could. All he did is fail his whole life until he figured out what he wanted, his dream and what inspired him. And then he worked his whole life diligently for that what if, because he did not want to waste his dream on it. So that guy stayed up to what we would call, the midnight hour, burned the midnight candle, right? And stayed hours and hours and hours on it. And this guy tried something 10,000 times to be successful. Well, over 10,000 times, man. I can't imagine doing things like more than 20 times. What about you? How many times have you failed something before you start saying, I suck. This is terrible. I quit. I don't want to do this anyway. This guy did something 10,000 times over and over again. Why? Because he knew what he wanted. He had that dream. How did he build his strength? Failure. This kid failed his whole life over and over again. So every time he screwed up, he's like, well, no, just another day I screwed up, right? Well, I'll make it again. I'll fail again. He kept failing over and over and over again. And finally, one day, a light bulb lit. It's Thomas Edison, if you knew what I was talking about, right? Failure his whole life. He's one of the greatest inventors of all time. Right? He has over 1,000 patents. This guy is a failure. He couldn't speak at 4, couldn't read at 7, sent home because they thought he was mentally challenged. He's one of the greatest minds to have ever lived. And what kept him going, and all his, look what I'm showing you now, his quotes are all about hard work, adversity, perseverance. And it doesn't matter how many times you try, is that you keep up, you keep going, but you find a way to win. The path is rough for everyone, but if you have a reason, if you have a goal, a want, a dream, that's yours and yours alone. Nobody can take that from you. And you control the outcome of it. If you decide to give up on it, that's you, but you gotta find the strength to keep going, and that's the reason why I'm here. I'm here because in the next video, I will show you mine, which is pretty rough for me, which talks about my homelessness when I was younger, right? So, all I wanted to say is thank you. This hasn't been 10 minutes, but I try to keep it under. And hopefully, these series that I'm going to try to make for you guys will ideally give you at least some guidance and try to take at least the first step in making the rest of your life the best of your life. Thank you, guys.